Hi, this is Steve, and we are interviewing my mother-in-law Marla on the book A Thousand Gifts by Voskamp. And I've read the book myself. Excellent book. Really changes how you look at gratitude. You know, it's really awesome. I have a good friend who this book has so radically changed her life in a year. It's just been awesome to see. And Marla, I'm noticing that you have about 3 different color highlighters and pencil and pen and little sticky notes coming out of the page and pages turned down and then other pink stuff going this way off the page. I'm thinking you got something out of this.
It's funny when you read it through, it'll almost stun you to silence. It's so precious, the revelation that she gets about Thanksgiving. But every time I pick it up, I want to include in my life again. It's not like I could read it through one time and just make it my lifestyle, but it's like every time I pick it up, it just blesses me again. And so it's one of those I keep handy because it ministers to me so much.
And can you ever get too grateful?
I guess not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
So.
I do want to read a little quote in here that just kind of gives a little taste of what she talks about. She's talking about Jesus taking the loaves and fishes, like the God-man counting his too few loaves and not enough fish. The one I remembered from felt boards and fingers pressed out smooth, where Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. Gave thanks. He's done it there too, again. I'd missed it all of my life. I'd never considered those 2 words, the bridge words there in the middle, the crossing over, that took the not enough and made it enough. He gave thanks, Eucharisteo. He embraces his not enough. He gives thanks, and there is more than enough. More than enough. Eucharisteo always precedes the miracle.
Good. Always perceives the miracle.
Always perceives the miracle. And the miracle is right here.
Mm-hmm.
This a realization that giving thanks, I'm realizing reading the book, giving thanks isn't something God requires of me. It's the way I receive.
Ah, that's good. It's not another to-do.
Right. It's the actual act of getting to experience what I've already been given.
Yeah. So there's something out there, and gratitude is kind of, what would you say, it's kind of the hand of faith that reaches out and possesses?
Yeah, I think that's good. It's also almost like making room in your heart for something God's already done, so that you're living in the awareness of it and the good of it, the blessing of it, the reality of it, instead of it being something separate that you put on a shelf and admire.
So this woman who wrote the book, how would you describe her life up to the point when she gets the gratitude thing?
Well, it was a difficult life, a life. Hard things had happened in her life. She lost a sister at a young age, and she'd seen it happen. And then sort of defining her life by the loss instead of defining her life by who she was. And then how someone challenged her to list 1,000 things she was grateful for. And I love how she breaks down the word Eucharisteo as being thanksgiving and joy and grace. And in so many places she calls it naming the graces. So if I'm living a life of grace, I'm living a life of gift, where God has gifted me and I'm unaware of it. So the grace is simply me becoming aware of the thousands of gifts God gives me every day.
Very good. So, I think a lot of times when people have real significant disappointment in their life, it becomes like a stopping point in their faith. And I think this book is a very good way to get over that disappointment, because most people try and get over the disappointment by getting their why did it happen answered.
Yes.
And gratitude doesn't really go to the why did it happen part,
It really, again, wakes you up to the goodness of God instead of the badness of what's happening. And we've so minimized the goodness of God and maximized the badness of what's happened that we're living in hell on earth. But when we begin to be aware of God's goodness and how much huger that is than anything that's happened to me, I actually can live heaven on earth by just being aware of the goodness of God.
Yeah, very good. You love the book. Is there anything you don't like so much about the book? I mean, any chapters that they're not your favorite, or?
Well, I had trouble with chapter 5, where she talks about being thankful for bad things. But as she walks in her journey, you realize she's thankful for the one who's always there in the bad things.
Got it.
So it takes a little while to get through it, and maybe when you're reading it the first time, skip chapter 5, because it really messed me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Not because of how it's written, but because of my own concept that I brought into it.
Yeah, so, sometimes you might read that chapter and think that God does bad things and you're supposed to be grateful anyways.
Right.
And, I don't personally don't think that's sound theologically, although it's very common.
Right.
And,
Right.
anyways. So,
Yeah.
this is an excellent book on gratitude from thought was very thorough from a spiritual perspective. There's another book I might review on the more clinical research on reasons to be thankful. And there's even a lot of research on the biochemistry in your brain and your body, what happens in your physical body when you're grateful. But I love the book, and I know a lot of people have been really impacted by it. Thanks.